In the bustling city of Chicago, Harold Johnson's life had once been the embodiment of stability and peace. At 62, Harold was retired, his days once filled with the comforting rhythm of routine. His home, shared with his wife Margaret, was a haven of calm amidst the city's chaos. Margaret, a gentle soul with a laugh that could light up a room, had been Harold's anchor for nearly 4 decades. Their happiness, however, was brutally interrupted 4 years ago. Margaret, at 58, had fallen gravely ill. Diagnosed with kidney failure, her prognosis was dire. Harold, ever the devoted husband, faced the storm head-on. The medical bills were astronomical, and the treatments were relentless. Desperate to save her, Harold took out loans, sold his car, and even exhausted their savings. Despite his Herculean efforts, Margaret's health deteriorated, and she passed away just shy of her 59th birthday. The grief of her loss was a heavy, unshakable burden. The emotional and financial toll of Margaret's death left Harold shattered. With his savings drained and his home lost to medical debts, he had nowhere to turn. David, Harold's only child, was his next hope. David, who had his own struggles with alcoholism, still managed to offer his father a place to stay with him and his wife, Sarah. However, the warmth Harold had hoped for was absent in Sarah's reception. Her forced smiles and cold demeanor made Harold feel like an intruder in his own son's home. The tension between Harold and Sarah was palpable, a constant reminder of the strained circumstances. David's battle with alcoholism was a struggle Harold had tried to understand and support. His attempts to reason with David often ended in frustration, as David dismissed his father's concerns, insisting he had control over his own life. Harold's worries seemed to fall on deaf ears until one tragic night. David, intoxicated beyond reason, staggered into the street at a dangerous crossing point. A speeding car, driven by Jessica Miller, struck him. The collision was inevitable. Jessica, though heartbroken, couldn't avoid the accident. David died instantly, leaving Harold reeling from another devastating loss. The world seemed to collapse around him. Jessica Miller faced legal consequences, but the investigation concluded that David was at fault for the accident, leaving Jessica with only a fine. The injustice of the situation was a cruel blow to Harold. The pain of losing David was compounded by the fact that Jessica's punishment felt insufficient. As if the loss of his son wasn't enough, Harold's situation worsened after the funeral. Sarah, who had never warmed to him, made it clear that Harold was no longer welcome in their home. With no other options and nowhere to turn, Harold packed his few belongings into a small bag and left. The streets of Chicago were now Harold's new reality. He wandered aimlessly, the weight of his recent losses heavy on his shoulders. It was during these aimless strolls that Harold came across an old, abandoned mobile home. To his surprise, it was already occupied by a young man named Evan Smith. Evan, a 30-year-old homeless man, had made the abandoned trailer his home. Despite his own struggles, Evan showed remarkable kindness. He invited Harold to stay with him, offering a semblance of stability amidst the chaos of Harold's life. Evan survived by collecting recyclables and working part-time as a loader at a local grocery store. His small but comfortable existence was a stark contrast to Harold's recent turmoil. The two men quickly formed a bond over their shared hardships. They worked together to maintain the trailer, splitting chores and supporting each other in their daily struggles. Harold, determined to contribute, took a job as a gardener at a local park. It wasn't much, but it was a source of pride and purpose. One evening, after a particularly long day of work, Harold decided to take a peaceful walk by the lake near the park. The tranquility of the water provided a momentary escape from his worries. As he walked, he heard a sudden splash. Instinctively, Harold turned to see someone struggling in the water. Without hesitation, Harold jumped in. His heart pounded as he swam toward the figure, pulling them to safety. When they reached the shore, Harold was shocked to find that the person he had rescued was Jessica Miller, the very woman whose accident had taken David's life. Harold's initial reaction was a mix of anger and confusion. Yet, as he looked at Jessica's tear-streaked face, he saw the depth of her despair. Jessica, who had been overwhelmed by guilt and depression, had attempted to end her life. Harold, despite his own suffering, chose to offer her compassion rather than resentment. Jessica, fragile and broken, revealed her story to Harold. After the accident, her life had spiraled into a dark abyss. Her father had recently died from leukemia, and her family's business was on the brink of collapse. The weight of her responsibilities and personal grief had driven her to the edge. As Jessica's story unfolded, Harold's own pain seemed to find a new purpose. He realized that, despite their shared tragedies, they both needed each other. With Evan's support, they welcomed Jessica into their makeshift home. For the first time in a long while, Harold began to see a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. But this was only the beginning. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and the ghosts of their pasts. Yet, as they faced their struggles together, Harold, Jessica, and Evan would come to understand that in their shared journey, they might find the strength to rebuild and forge a new future. As the days turned into weeks, Harold, Evan, and Jessica settled into an unusual yet comforting routine in the old mobile home. The trailer, though modest, became a sanctuary for the three of them. The shared space, once a symbol of Harold's misfortune, slowly transformed into a haven where they could begin to heal from their respective pains. Harold found solace in the rhythm of his new job as a gardener. His daily tasks, planting flowers, trimming bushes, and maintaining the park, offered him a sense of purpose and normalcy. Each evening, as he returned to the trailer, the sight of Evan and Jessica working together on their little home brought him a rare sense of contentment. Evan's resilience and optimism were a beacon of hope. Despite his own struggles, he had an infectious zest for life that seemed to lift everyone's spirits. Jessica, who had once been on the brink of despair, gradually began to recover. The mobile home's atmosphere was a stark contrast to the dark places she had been. Her involvement in their daily lives, cooking meals, managing small repairs, and even decorating the trailer, helped her regain a sense of control. The presence of Harold and Evan provided her with the support she desperately needed. Their kindness and understanding acted as a balm for her wounded soul. One evening, as the three of them sat around a makeshift dining table, Jessica hesitated before broaching a difficult subject. "Harold," she began tentatively, "I've been thinking a lot about what happened. I know you've been incredibly kind to me, but I need to make things right. I want to find a way to help." Harold looked up from his meal, his eyes reflecting both curiosity and cautious optimism. "Help? What do you mean?" Jessica took a deep breath. "I've been working on my family's business for years, and despite the problems it faced, it's actually doing better now. I've been able to secure some funds and clear out the debts. I want to make amends and contribute in any way I can. Maybe I could help with expenses, or we could find a better place to live." Evan, who had been listening intently, chimed in, "Jessica, that's incredibly generous of you. But honestly, what we need most is just to keep going as we are. We're making it work, and we're grateful for what we have." Jessica nodded, understanding their perspective. She decided to use her regained stability to support Harold and Evan in more subtle ways. She took on more responsibilities around the trailer, ensuring that their living conditions were as comfortable as possible. She also began saving a portion of her earnings, hoping to find a way to repay Harold's kindness in the future. The bond between Harold and Jessica continued to deepen. They spent evenings talking about their lives, their losses, and their hopes for the future. Harold listened patiently as Jessica shared her struggles, offering words of encouragement and wisdom. In turn, Jessica provided Harold with a sense of companionship and understanding that had been missing from his life for so long. Meanwhile, Evan's life was also shifting. His relationship with Jessica began to evolve beyond friendship. Their shared experiences and time spent together forged a strong connection. They would often take long walks through the park or sit by the lake, discussing their dreams and fears. It was clear that their bond was growing into something deeper. One sunny afternoon, while Harold was tending to the garden, he noticed Jessica and Evan standing close by, their faces flushed with a mix of joy and nervousness. Jessica was holding Evan's hand, and they exchanged glances full of unspoken emotion. "Everything all right?" Harold asked, wiping his hands on his apron. Jessica smiled softly, her eyes bright with a mixture of excitement and hesitation. "We've been talking about our future. Evan and we've realized that we have strong feelings for each other. We want to see where this goes." Harold's heart swelled with a mixture of happiness and nostalgia. He saw in their relationship a reflection of hope and renewal, something he had once thought lost. "I'm happy for you both. You deserve to find happiness, just as I hope to find it for myself." Days turned into months, and the little family of 3 continued to support each other through thick and thin. Their lives were far from perfect, but they found comfort in their shared struggles and mutual support. The trailer, once a symbol of their hardships, now represented their resilience and the new beginnings they had forged together. Despite their progress, challenges still loomed on the horizon. Each day brought its own set of difficulties, from financial strains to personal insecurities. Yet, Harold, Jessica, and Evan faced these challenges with a renewed sense of purpose. Their journey was far from over, but they had learned to rely on each other's strength and kindness. As they looked toward the future, each of them harbored dreams of what might come next. Harold dreamed of a more stable life, one where he could leave behind the shadows of his past. Jessica envisioned a future where she could rebuild her life and perhaps even find a way to reconcile with her own past. And Evan, whose love for Jessica had grown, looked forward to a future filled with promise and possibility. In their shared struggles, they had found something precious: the power of human connection and the hope that came from standing together. Their journey was one of healing and transformation, and though the road ahead remained uncertain, they faced it with newfound strength and unity. The sun was setting over Chicago as Harold, Jessica, and Evan settled into their lives in the mobile home. Their routine had become a source of comfort, a testament to their resilience. Yet, despite the relative calm, their pasts loomed large, shaping their future in ways they hadn't fully anticipated. One evening, Jessica received an unexpected visit from representatives of her family's business. The men, well-dressed and formal, arrived in a sleek car, their presence a stark contrast to the humble trailer. Jessica, nervous but hopeful, invited them inside. Harold and Evan watched from a distance as Jessica greeted the men with a mix of apprehension and anticipation. They couldn't hear the details of the conversation but could see the tension in Jessica's posture and the intensity in the representative's expressions. When the meeting concluded, Jessica's demeanor shifted from anxiety to a cautious optimism. She approached Harold and Evan, her eyes bright with a mix of relief and uncertainty. "They've managed to resolve the business issues," Jessica explained. "My family's company is back on track, and I'm no longer needed to manage it. They want me to return to take on my previous role." Evan looked at her, his expression a mix of concern and support. "That's great news, Jessica. But what does that mean for us?" Jessica hesitated, then took a deep breath. "It means I have a choice to make. I could go back to my old life with all its responsibilities and complexities. But I don't want to leave without you both. You've become my family, and I don't want to walk away from that." Harold, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. "Jessica, we've all been through so much. If returning to your old life means leaving us behind, I understand. But if you're considering staying, we need to think about what's best for everyone." Jessica's eyes welled with tears as she looked at Harold and Evan. "I've thought about it a lot. I want to stay with you. I found something here that I never expected: peace and a sense of belonging. But it's complicated. If I refuse to go back, I risk severing ties with my family and losing my previous life stability." Evan, always the voice of hope, reached out and gently placed his hand on Jessica's. "We understand the difficult position you're in. If you choose to stay, we'll support you. But if you need to go back, we'll be here for you, no matter what." The next few days were a whirlwind of emotions as Jessica wrestled with her decision. She spent time reflecting on her life, her values, and the future she envisioned. Harold and Evan gave her space but remained steadfast in their support, understanding that Jessica's choice was crucial for their collective future. One morning, Jessica finally made her decision. She gathered Harold and Evan in the small living area of the trailer, her face a mixture of resolve and nervousness. "I've decided to stay," Jessica announced. "I want to build a life here with both of you. My family's business is stable now, and I can take a step back. I found something more valuable than I ever imagined. True connection and a sense of home." Harold and Evan exchanged relieved smiles. The weight of Jessica's decision lifted, replaced by a shared sense of hope for what the future might hold. They celebrated her choice with a simple meal, their laughter filling the trailer and momentarily chasing away the shadows of their pasts. As they settled into their new reality, the three of them began to think about their long-term future. Jessica and Evan's relationship deepened, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. They spent weekends exploring the city and enjoying simple pleasures, their love for each other blossoming. Harold, too, began to envision a more stable future. He continued his work at the park, finding satisfaction in his daily tasks. He and Jessica had many conversations about their dreams, and Harold started to feel a renewed sense of purpose. Yet, as they moved forward, the ghosts of their pasts occasionally resurfaced. Jessica still grappled with her guilt over David's death, though Harold's forgiveness had helped her find some peace. Evan's past, marked by hardship and homelessness, also remained a part of him, though his resilience continued to shine through. Their journey wasn't without its challenges, but they faced each obstacle together. The strength of their newfound family provided them with a sense of belonging and hope that had once seemed elusive. One chilly evening, as they sat together by the lake, Jessica, Harold, and Evan watched the sunset, a symbol of their shared journey and the promise of new beginnings. They had weathered the storms of their pasts and emerged stronger, united by their experiences and their commitment to one another. As they looked out over the tranquil water, they knew that their future was uncertain, but they faced it with courage and hope. The path ahead might be fraught with difficulties, but they were ready to confront it together, drawing strength from their friendship and the deep connections they had forged. Months had passed since Jessica had decided to stay with Harold and Evan. The mobile home, once a symbol of hardship, had become a beacon of their shared resilience and hope. The trio had settled into a rhythm, each finding new purpose and joy in their lives together. Yet, as with all things, their story was approaching another pivotal moment. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves turned golden and the air grew cool, Harold, Jessica, and Evan awoke to the sounds of a new chapter unfolding. Jessica had been receiving more frequent visits from her family's business representatives, and the prospect of her return to the corporate world loomed over them all. As they gathered for breakfast, Jessica's demeanor was one of quiet determination. "I've had another discussion with my family," she said, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. "They've offered me a significant position in the company. It's a big opportunity, and I've been thinking a lot about what it means for us." Evan, ever supportive, reached out to hold Jessica's hand. "You've come a long way, Jessica. We know how much this means to you, but whatever you decide, we'll be here to support you." Harold, who had grown close to Jessica over the past months, nodded in agreement. "Jessica, you've found your place here, and it's clear that this decision is important. But you also need to think about what will bring you the most fulfillment." Jessica took a deep breath. "I've been offered a chance to not only rebuild my career, but also to give back to the community in ways I couldn't before. I'm torn between staying here with you and taking this opportunity." The room fell silent as the gravity of the decision settled over them. They each knew that this choice would have profound implications for their lives. Jessica's desire to give back and succeed in her career was matched by her love and commitment to her new family. Over the next few days, Jessica continued to weigh her options, seeking clarity on what truly mattered most. Harold and Evan provided her with unwavering support, respecting her need to make the right choice for her future. One evening, after much reflection, Jessica gathered Harold and Evan once more. Her face was resolute, her eyes reflecting the culmination of her journey. "I've made my decision," she said, her voice firm but compassionate. "I'm going to accept the position with my family's business. But I want you both to know that I'm not leaving you behind. I want us to find a way to make this work." Harold and Evan exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of pride and sadness. They understood the importance of Jessica's decision and the promise it held for her future. "We'll support you," Evan said, his voice filled with sincerity. "And we'll find a way to stay connected, no matter where life takes us." Harold, with a hint of a smile, added, "Your decision reflects the growth and strength we've all found in each other. It's a testament to our journey and the bonds we've created. We'll be cheering you on every step of the way." As Jessica prepared to transition into her new role, Harold and Evan made plans for their future as well. They decided to stay in the mobile home for now, continuing to build on the foundation they had established. The trailer remained a symbol of their shared strength, a reminder of the trials they had overcome and the hope they had nurtured. The day of Jessica's departure was bittersweet. The trio spent the day reminiscing about their time together, celebrating their achievements, and expressing their gratitude for the bond they had formed. Jessica, Harold, and Evan shared a heartfelt farewell, knowing that their connection would endure despite the changes. As Jessica left for her new role, she carried with her the lessons learned from her time with Harold and Evan. The strength of their friendship and the hope they had shared would guide her as she embarked on this new chapter of her life. Harold and Evan, while bidding farewell to their friend, were filled with a renewed sense of purpose and a commitment to continue their journey together. In the end, Jessica, Harold, and Evan had found more than just temporary solace. They had discovered a profound connection that transcended their individual hardships. Their story was a testament to the power of human connection and the resilience of the human spirit. As the seasons changed and life continued to unfold, they each embraced their new paths with courage and hope. Their journey had been marked by loss and struggle, but it was also defined by the strength they had found in one another. And as they looked to the future, they knew that the bonds they had forged would continue to inspire and uplift them, no matter where life's journey took them.